Johnny Cage, you have been chosen to fight.
Tell me you're not some crazy fan. How are you doing that?
Are you coming or what?
Where the hell am I?
It's called Mortal Kombat. It's a fighting tournament to the death.
Fuck that.
The conversation surrounding Mortal Kombat 2 has been steadily intensifying as fans anticipate how the next chapter will expand the world introduced in the previous installment. The project has been treated as both a continuation and an escalation, aiming to push the boundaries of what a modern video game adaptation can accomplish. Audiences who appreciated the way the earlier film reintroduced iconic characters and core mythology are now looking for a sequel that truly immerses viewers in the layered conflict between Earthrealm and Outworld. The update cycle around the project has been full of discussions about how the production intends to build bigger environments, explore deeper rivalries, and showcase more complicated tournament dynamics. The intention, according to internal creative direction, is to make the sequel feel more global in scope, while keeping the grounded tone and character-driven approach that made the first movie feel distinct from earlier adaptations. One of the central talking points in recent development discussions has revolved around how the sequel plans to amplify the character arcs that were only hinted at before. The creative team appears interested in shifting certain relationships into more unpredictable territory, especially those involving alliances that may not hold under the growing pressure of multi-realm warfare. There is a sense that some returning fighters will face moral choices that highlight the cost of carrying the burden of protecting Earthrealm. At the same time, several new fighters are expected to enter the story with motivations that add tension to the established dynamic. Internal reports suggest that the sequel aims to deepen the emotional foundations of rivalries that longtime fans already recognize, while also giving newcomers enough narrative grounding to enjoy the conflicts as fresh, self-contained arcs rather than fan service references. A major element of the project's internal updates has been the intention to increase the brutality and intensity of the combat sequences. Creative leads have emphasized that the sequel aims to incorporate techniques that closely resemble the choreography style associated with tournament-focused martial arts films, combined with the supernatural energy and mythic powers that define the franchise. The filmmaking team has reportedly been experimenting with updated stunt concepts, refined camera movements, and more complex set pieces to deliver kinetic sequences that feel clearer, faster, and more aggressive. This aligns with the growing fan expectation that a Mortal Kombat sequel should push the envelope in terms of visual identity and signature finishing moments. Early production notes show a commitment to building fights that communicate character personality through movement, letting audiences understand motivations even in the midst of violent and supernatural action. Another notable update is the heightened emphasis on inter-realm politics and the looming tension over the fate of Earthrealm. Internal story drafts suggest that the sequel places more weight on how different factions respond to the threat rising from Outworld. The characters appear to face a new layer of strategic pressure, where even the most powerful warriors understand that brute strength alone may not be enough to secure victory. By exploring competing agendas within both realms, the sequel aims to create a narrative environment where trust becomes a scarce resource. The world building pushes the franchise deeper into cosmic stakes without removing the human element that lets audiences care about each character's personal journey. These narrative structures indicate that Mortal Kombat 2 wants to evolve beyond a simple tournament story into something that blends combat spectacle with political tension and psychological conflict. Creative insiders have also expressed interest in expanding the visual language of the sequel. Instead of relying solely on the color palettes and environments used previously, the new film appears to be moving toward more stylized contrasts between realms. Earthrealm locations are expected to retain a grounded, gritty aesthetic, But Outworld settings are being reimagined with a stronger sense of ancient decay mixed with mystical intimidation. This visual shift signals that the sequel intends to portray Outworld as a genuinely oppressive place, rather than a CGI-colored backdrop. Early concept briefings describe a realm scarred by centuries of conflict, shaped by the ambitions of its rulers and marked by the desperation of its warriors. These environmental design choices aim to reinforce the narrative tension by visually reminding viewers of what is at stake for both sides. Another central update that has drawn significant internal attention is the focus on expanding the emotional narratives behind iconic rivalries. In particular, certain relationships known to the franchise will be treated as long-form conflicts rather than single-scene encounters. Early creative sessions explored how generational trauma, past betrayals, and ideological clashes contribute to the heightened violence between characters. This direction suggests that the sequel will avoid treating rivalries as simple fan service moments and instead give them layered motivations. This approach allows the film to showcase dramatic tension that continues building even outside combat scenes, creating an interconnected framework where every fight feels consequential to the overarching storyline. Topics related to character evolution have also been part of the developmental conversation. Some returning characters may confront the consequences of the choices they made earlier, especially those who struggled to accept their identities as chosen defenders. There are hints that internal conflict, fear, and responsibility will weigh heavily on several protagonists. This psychological layer adds new depth to the sequel, transforming characters into more complex figures, shaped not only by physical battles, but also by the emotional burdens of survival and destiny. These updates indicate that the film seeks to balance action and character development in a way that enhances the emotional impact of key story moments. Recent production updates also highlighted the intention to make the world feel more interconnected across realms. Rather than isolating each group of fighters in separate story threads, the sequel appears to be working toward a structure where alliances form, break, and reform throughout the narrative. This dynamic flow of relationships mirrors the unpredictable nature of the Mortal Kombat universe, where trust is fragile and every decision carries immediate consequences. The goal is to deliver a story that feels alive, constantly shifting as characters respond to rapidly escalating threats. The outcome is a cinematic rhythm that remains tense and engaging even during moments without combat. Internal discussions have also touched on how the sequel plans to handle power escalation. With more supernatural fighters entering the narrative, the creative challenge has been to ensure that action sequences remain grounded in visual logic, rather than descending into excessive chaos. To accomplish this, the team has been refining fight mechanics that emphasize clarity, readability, and strategic pacing. Powers are reportedly choreographed with stricter rules, so each ability feels unique without overwhelming the physical combat that defines the franchise. This effort demonstrates a commitment to maintaining a balance between the fantastical and the visceral, allowing every fight to feel both legendary and tactile. A significant point of excitement within early production updates concerns the development of larger, more elaborate tournament-level arenas. The creative ambition behind these sets appears to be driven by a desire to create locations that feel like characters themselves. These environments are designed with thematic symbolism that reflects the psychological and moral stakes of each encounter. Some arenas may highlight themes of corruption and domination, while others emphasize resilience and sacrifice. This world-building approach reinforces the idea that Mortal Kombat 2 aims to evolve beyond conventional action into something more atmospheric and narrative-driven. Another element of ongoing internal news relates to how the sequel intends to showcase the contrast between human fighters and supernatural warriors. The narrative reportedly spends more time exploring the cultural, emotional, and philosophical perspectives that shape each group. Human fighters are given arcs centered on resistance, loyalty, and adaptability, while fighters from other realms confront legacies tied to power, oppression, and duty. This duality enhances the thematic tension between Earthrealm's fragile hope and Outworld's ruthless ambition, giving audiences a more comprehensive understanding of why each fighter chooses to step into battle. Production updates have also discussed the desire to include more complex training sequences that reveal how characters prepare for escalating threats. These scenes are designed to illustrate not only physical improvement, but also mental resilience. Instead of focusing solely on skill development, the sequences aim to highlight personal growth, internal struggles, and shifting motivations. This creative choice aligns with the broader narrative vision of portraying Mortal Kombat as a transformative journey where characters evolve through hardship and confrontation. A notable aspect of internal discussion has been the rising focus on legacy, how past events shape present choices. Characters grapple with debts owed, promises broken, and histories that refuse to fade. This theme deepens the emotional resonance of each character's path, giving weight to their actions and shaping the narrative into something more sophisticated than a straightforward battle for survival. These updates suggest that Mortal Kombat 2 seeks to deliver a narrative that pays respect to long-term fans, while allowing new viewers to appreciate the story through universal themes of identity, sacrifice, and redemption. The latest rounds of internal updates emphasize that the sequel aims to position itself as both a continuation and an elevation of what the franchise can achieve on screen. The production has invested considerable effort into refining tone, visual direction, emotional stakes, and action design. The goal is to create an experience that honors the legacy of Mortal Kombat, while evolving the storytelling style to appeal to a broader audience. As the project moves forward, its growing narrative ambition suggests that the sequel intends to raise expectations for what a modern video game adaptation can deliver, offering a cinematic journey filled with intensity, mythic conflict, and richer character exploration than any previous entry.